Hey YouTube, Chester here, music producer for 45Y Music, and got a fun one for you today. So not so much a library review, more so as a deep dive to a library. I'm going to share some tips and tricks and ways to get most out of this library. So let's get started. We're looking at Ambient Guitars by Leo Abrahams and Spitfire Audio library here. It's been out for a little bit. They have a flash sale right now. You could use Flash 50. I think you could get this for 50 off by the time I'm recording this. If this sale goes away, just wait for another one. They have several sales throughout the year. I got this in a bundle for really cheap. I probably wouldn't pay full price on this myself. The library is very niche, but it is cool. When I bought it last year, I bought about last year. I didn't use it. It's been collecting dust. I started it up, tried it out, and I was like, no, it's not for me. But today I wanted to mess around with some guitars and pulled it up again, and I had a lot of fun with it today. So I was wrong about last year, but this is why I'm doing this video. I want to see, or rather show some fun ways of using this library that I didn't see in research. No one's really sharing how they're using this library other than here's a song that I made with it or some other things that Spitfire provided. So I wanted to dive in a little bit. As I scroll through this, you get click the description, or in my description rather, we'll have the link to this library for you to check out so you can read it. You'll see the price. This picture was really cool, seeing the pedals that they're using as they're recording this. As a gear nerd, I love seeing this stuff, so this was kind of fun. And some mic techniques that they're using, because they didn't document any of it in the user manual that I saw anyways. So hopefully the pictures are true. But what's included on the bottom, a lot of presets here, so you can go through and look at those. That's a cool thing about Spitfire Audio is they're like, hey, you bought this is what everything is. And the mixes down here, I just noticed that they added mixes here, which is awesome. I was going to use the user manual for that, but I don't need to now. So we have the DI. You'll have to keep this in mind when we get to the UI. I'll bring it up again, but yeah, we'll explain it while we have the UI. All right, let's just dive into Ableton Live here. I do have a little mastering chain going on. By the way, I am not being paid by anyone to do this. This is on my own free will. Like I said, I bought the library last year and I'm just goofing with it today. I turned SonarWorks off, and that's for any library. I'm not getting paid to do anything. I'm just having fun with you, sharing some tips, tricks, and things. I think I've gone over this mastering chain once before. This is not a mastering chain per se, more so as my mix bus, but I'm not mastering, so at this time. So that's just chilling. I don't have a subgroup chain going for guitar. I will in the future, but for now I just have this bus just dropping some volume to get a good gain stage. If I add this to a mix, that should be at 0. And then let's now dive into the library. So to get started here, I'm going to start muting some things. We got, just to get things going, I just threw in a chord progression. All the same velocity, so that's why you see velocity MIDI tool going here. Let's see, get back. Velocity MIDI tools going here, and then I got Kontakt playing ambient guitars. And here's the first thing that I noticed that I didn't notice last year. Evo Grid. Such a cool concept, and one of the biggest things that I've enjoyed about Spitfire Audio. These Evo Grids are really cool, and this one has an Evo Grid, this library. So if you're familiar with what this is, then you know. But if you're not, what this grid is set up to do is you have these note centers. And if you look at individual evolutions here, this might help you out a little bit as I explain it. So each one of these individual evolutions is a sample on this grid. So from here to here, they're probably laid out. I don't know if they go in order here, like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if that's the same as these. But maybe it is. I'm not sure. So that's basically what I'm saying, though, is each one of these will trigger the note center of this sound. That's what we're seeing here in the grid. And you can use this dice up here. You can randomize any of these options. You can randomize the soft distortion options only. So all note centers are of a sound source here, or of a what's the word I'm trying to say? A group of sounds, template or a theme. That's the word, like a theme of sounds. So you got soft distortion, distortion, chaos. You can mix them up. You can just start clicking in here and assigning them yourself based on note centers that you're playing. So you can do a lot of things here. And it sounds like this as we play that chord progression. And it's really fun because over time, as you're playing the progression, things are changing up organically, and there's some really great blending and layering, and it's very musical when you get this set up how you want. Over here we have the mixer of different amps and microphones that were set up to record these sounds. So you can dial this in a little bit. I used A3, the third amp, and if we open up that list here, this is where the mixes will help. So we have the 3 amps right here. This one was recorded with a ribbon mic. This is recorded with the dynamic mic, and this one with the dynamic mic. So 3 different options here, and then you have the stereo room microphones. We'll use these, talk about those in a second. So all this was taste, listening to this a bunch of times, turning these off, turning these on, and just listening. And I chose this one. I liked it the most. I spent a long time on it, and finally got that. Sometimes I'll add this room, bring that in halfway, but for this specific patch, I just didn't feel I needed it, so took that off. You can also blend this. Just know that your memory kind of goes up a little bit slightly. But, I mean, we're still in megabytes. I wouldn't worry about it too much. So, yeah, just chose that. The reverb, delay, tape saturation settings here in the effects controls, I kind of leave them in Evo Grids. It depends, but I left it here for sure. And then if you're looking for macros, if you're an Ableton Live user, the ADSR, great options. And then I got kind of right here, the naked board where I am playing the dynamic variation expression just on my own as I like perform it, right? So I can do some damage there and have some fun. All right, so the Evo Grid is rocking. It's doing its thing. I add some OTT to it because it gives character. It brings out subtle things that it just sounds good. I don't kind of know what else to say other than that, but it just brings things out that sometimes not good. I've used it on some of the Albion 1 stuff, and I'm like, yikes, and I remove OTT and get away from it. But here I liked it. It's bringing up some of the metal stuff. It's just bringing in some of the things that just make it sound like a guitar. And then also some of the subtleties of like the pedals that are used in the amp and everything like that. It's cool. All right. Then I got this just for gain staging. I've also explained the channel strip in some of my other videos. Any questions on that, leave a comment below. I'll happy to talk you through it. But mostly this is just gain staging. I'm just trying to set volume. And then some reverb. So now we got this kind of going. And that sounds pretty ambient. And Evo Grid is awesome. So Evo Grid's doing a lot of work here. But let's just say that's not good enough. So I'm going to turn the reverb off and we're going to try a couple other things. I built this the other day, had a day off and made this device called Avalanch Run, which is based on the Earthquaker device pedal. I wanted to buy one and I was like, nah, don't buy one, just build one. It's not perfect. It's not one-to-one by any means, but I had a lot of fun working on it. So it's just a Soundtoys crystallizer and Valhalla Room reverb. It's a delay that gets fed into a reverb, more or less. I don't have the pedal. I've never had the pedal. I don't know what it is. I didn't A/B this and dial it in perfectly. This is very rough, loose interpretation of it. But the top is delay controls that I can adjust for the crystallizer. And then the bottom is the reverb controls that I adjust for the Valhalla Room. And it sounds like that. And I have a dry signal coming out as well. But if I take that out, we're hearing only the delay and reverb. And a few variations of it. The two sounded really good, so we'll go with that one. And that sounds pretty ambient from a guitar perspective. But say we want to do something more. So let's remove that. Let's remove the reverb, and we got guitar rig. And guitar rig's a lot of fun. We can open up this ambient genres, and we can look at something to add to it. And then just make sure you're doing gain staging. Sometimes these can get pretty intense. You just find something you like. I like this. It kind of has like a tape thing going with it, so. Like a wow and flutter. Add that reverb and it sounds pretty good. All right. So Evo Grid's awesome. And it's getting you instantly in work land for sound design. By the way, I wanted to say, this is probably a good time to say it. When you look at ambient guitars, it is big. It's a big library. You go to inspiration here, a bunch of samples or patches. You go to distorted, bunch of patches, so on and so forth. And in my head, I wanted to divide this up in ways of processing each one of these patches so I can make it my own. And I did so by thinking about it in, we have long notes like pads, sustained notes, things that just go out there and over long periods of time. And then we have short notes, short, sweet, plucky arps and power chords and things like that. So I thought of dividing it that way. And then in a sound design context, I'm going to split it up by how I pan it, stereo width. Some of these sounds, I'm going to want a lot of spread. And for that, I don't own it, but I would be using Shred Spread by Plugin Alliance. Because like I said, I don't own it, so it's not going to show much here, but this plugin, you can use the spread here and get more here. There's other things that folks are using. Waves has one called like the S1. Utility, you can get some other ways of doing it, but that's one way I would do it. And all right, so let's move to the next. And then we also have the leads, which would be just down the center. I wanted to say that real quick before we go to the next idea. All right, so this is just another long patch. We're gonna take these off and open up Kontakt again. And now you see a different type of UI. We're in a different folder here, this distorted folder, which is just the guitar and a pedal. Each one of these is like a pedal. And then we're dialing in the amp or the room or the DI or how we want to do it. So that's what these other two were for the mix. We have the DI, which is direct input. It's the pedal and guitar, not just the guitar, but pedal and guitar for that DI. And then this is a clean amp channel. So for this sound, which we have just that sound, we have DI. I liked having the clean amp in there. So it gives it some body, the DI a little more body. And then, like I said, I like that A3, so I added a little bit of that, and then the room just to complement, give it a little bit more. And down here, we have a lot of options for how articulations or just patches within Love Tone that was recorded. So, but power chord sounded good to me, so we'll use it. Then in here, I got OTT going again, giving us a little more. You hear that performance thing? That's OTT, like really brings that out. So it just sounds good. And then we got gain staging again, just hitting that knob and getting some gain staging, bringing it down a little bit. All right, so we got guitar rig going here again. We can use that, set it up, get some sounds, or we can do something really fun. And forgive me if you can't hear this, because I'm sorry, but I can't use the streaming output for this. But the goal here being that we're going to send this signal out of Kontakt and out of Ableton through my audio interface into my pedal board, which is over here. And then back into the interface. And so in the middle there, I have the Big Sky, the 3 Stramons timeline, and the Mobius. I also have the Pog 2, some fuzz pedals and some distortions for, that's my bass guitar rig for like post metal and things like that. So I'm going to run it through that, and I set up a little chain, and that's going to come back into the interface and into live. I hope you can hear it, and if you can't, I'll post like a SoundCloud of what it sounds like. But it sounds like this. And that's what it sounds like. That's the magic right there. So now if you're asking like, well, I need the reamping DIs and I need all these things. Yeah, they give you options and it's probably best to use those things, but I'm not. I'm just going straight out of the interface into my pedal board, out of the pedal board back into the interface. So nothing broke. I think we're good. And that's how it sounds. So can have a lot of fun that way too, with your ambient guitars. This can also work for any library, any like synth library or anything you got going on. If you want to run something through your pedals, really fun option. And then we got the Valhalla room with that. That must have recorded the Valhalla with it too, which is kind of cool. All right, so now we're going to go to the short sounds and what we can get from that. And now we're not hearing anything again. Oh, this is why. There we go. All right, so I got an arpeggiator going just to get something going because we're more focused on sound design at the moment. And so I got this buzz tone idea going from the distorted here. We got muted pluck. I did not put in room or the other amp because I want the attack. In fact, let me just take everything off so you can hear it. It sounds different. And so I even brought the clean down because clean's just giving me some body. The DI is where all the attack is. So I'm using that. And I think maybe we could find some ways for that to being something that works really well for us, but I wanted to do more with it. And so in comes impulse responses. By the way, I'm using Libra for this example. I wouldn't suggest just going out and buying Libra for this. If you're in Ableton Live, Hybrid Reverb, I believe, can play impulse responses. Just do a YouTube search on how to add that. You'll be good to go. If you're in another DAW, there's probably something free out there that can add an impulse response and use it. So I would suggest going there first before saying, oh, well, Chester uses Libra, so I should too. I bought this. I saw someone using it and I bought it, and it's overkill 99% of the time. But it's fun. I get to like bounce through some of these impulse responses, and then I can go up to 8 and do some really fun things. But I'm just saying to you that there's other ways to do this. Just get an impulse response and it'll sound like this. And that impulse response is of like a cab simulation. So it just makes it like this DI that we've selected here is now running through a cab as well. And the cab is based on the impulse response you use. There's also free impulse responses out there. Just Google free, cab impulse responses, grab one, and that'll control a lot of the DI that you get from there. And it's vital because now we're using that as our sample source to run through some effects down the road, which is good. And so this next one I use, which timing is kind of interesting. I'm not a huge Waves fan myself anyways. I'm a Plugin Alliance, proud Plugin Alliance user. Love that company. And Waves is cool. I got nothing against them, but they've been bugging me for years with all their do this, download that, buy this, buy that, redo this, update that. Anyways, the Axe is awesome for what I'm trying to do here, and that is transient shaping a little bit, just keeping that attack tight and punchy. And this is a good plugin for that. There's also others that can do it too. So if you don't have this, don't fret. The goal of that plugin is just to keep that attack punchy and tight, maybe bring the sustain down just a little bit, and keep it manageable. And then again, just looking to do some gain staging and control. Guitar rig, we just threw in just cool little like metal distortion preset. It is not staying up, but and we get that. And now that kind of sounds machiney and whatever. That's the arpeggiator. But if we're playing it, and we're using the realism with the way that we do editing and the MIDI and everything, like humanizing the MIDI and everything like that. You're not going to get a perfect, it's not going to sound like a guitar, but you're going to get pretty close, a lot closer than if you left it alone and just used the library. So those are some fun options for you to try out as well. And then you can add a little reverb on that. Just keeping that attack and that meat of the tone alive when you add that reverb. So it's very soft and subtle. All right, and then the last thing I wanted to show was why it kind of took me away from wanting to use it for a year is when I opened it up, the first thing is inspiration, a ton of these patches. I just started going in and just kind of started listening to these. And so... and they're beautiful. Some of them are really pretty and they're cool. So you just start adding them in this eDNA kind of thing. But my problem was the application of trying to use this. And so Christian Henson's kind of said it best. I believe it was him. When he was talking about using these instruments as tools in your music for when you want something guitar-y, something to sound like a guitar, and does ambient guitars. But well, the way he said it made sense to me, because synth pads are going to sound rather synthy and can get otherworldly in ways, where guitar can get otherworldly in also other ways. So that's why I say this library is kind of niche in a way where it gives you another option. And again, I really like to spread out the pads here and make it ethereal and ambient and otherworldly in a specific manner. And then I was like, there it is. That's why I like Ambient Guitars as a library and how I plan to use it going forward. So you're going to want to find kind of its purpose if you do have this library and you struggled like I did, where you kind of want to put it. And then at the end here, these two folders, Christian Henderson's presets and Paul Thompson's presets, a lot of good stuff in here. This is also where you can get some cool bass sounds, and they tried to turn some of this kind of into some synthy goodness. It's cool stuff. There are YouTube videos of people diving in on these presets, so I'm not going to do that. But in any case, it's fun. So in conclusion here, go full camera. This is a pretty fun library, and it's deep, and you can have a lot of fun with it when you start applying some of the like reamping techniques, if you will, that allow you to kind of get more out of this library and not stop just at the library itself, but take those sounds as source sample material and then edit them in a sound design manner where you're able to add, your guitar pedals, or whether you've created them in your DAW or you've actually have them. You can also reamp, run it through impulse responses to simulate that it's going through a cab, those DI sources. You can also go in and tweak and set the outputs for the mics in ways where you can blend them and process them differently. Ambient guitars are really fun when you layer them. So say you have a reverb delay, just like digital delay in a classic reverb, medium-sized reverb, we'll just say, going through one layer, and then you have a second layer where you have more of a granular delay, and then you have a kind of an otherworldly reverb, like we'll use Cloud, for example, or the Shimmer. Shimmer is a popular one that has that pitching, where it's pitching the regeneration of the sound very high, like an octave above the source. And you have those two layers, and you can process them kind of differently, but group them together at the end. And when they're grouped together and they're glued, they can sound pretty amazing, as opposed to just, sending them through and hoping for the best. You can control this stuff really well. It's kind of what I'm saying at the end of the day. So I hope this was useful to you. I hope that there was something in this video that inspired you to give this library a try if you were like me and set it aside. Or if you've been using it, chat below. Let me know how you're using it and how you found it useful to you. And if you don't have it, the promo code is out there for Flash 50. If Ambient Guitars is that niche that I was talking about, if that's something you're looking for, this does blend really well with other sample libraries, Spitfire especially, and you're going to have a lot of fun with it. And then once again, these techniques can be applied to other guitar libraries. ADO has a few, maybe even one like that's free. I've had a couple that were free from them. So give that a shot. There's definitely a lot of options out there. So hope you have a great one. See you next time.